Nearly 4 years after Russia launched a full-scale war on Ukraine, St. Petersburg today exists in a strange limbo. Though the front lines are hundreds of miles away, drones occasionally fly overhead. Airports shut down without warning, and military recruitment ads are plastered over bus stops. The Moscow Times spoke to some residents of Russia's second largest city about how the war has transformed their everyday lives. Their surnames have been withheld to protect their identities. One of them, Maria, manages a dance school in Central. Everything comes in waves, she says, describing how student enrollment has fluctuated since the war began. The first wave of departures came right after February the 24th, 2022. Many of our regular students left the country. Then came the second wave during the mobilization in September. That really hit us hard. The international connections that once enriched her school have largely vanished. We used to have foreign instructors flying in regularly for seminars. Now, if someone comes once a year, that's amazing. Personal travel has become prohibitively expensive. It's not that I can't get a visa. You generally still can, but the flight costs are simply impossible now. Maria tries to find humor in her everyday reality. I constantly think about how much better it would be if men came to dance instead of taking up weapons and going to kill people in a neighboring country. I even thought about making that our school's slogan on social media, but I understand perfectly well that I'd be arrested immediately. Tatiana works at a photography studio and got divorced in September 2022 when the Kremlin launched its partial mobilization for the war. Bad timing, she jokes, though nothing about it feels funny. When you live in normal, peaceful times, personal problems hit you hard, but your mind is free from fear about the country's future. She says, here you're forced to think about whether it's even safe to live and stay here with your child. This weighs heavily on your ordinary life. Artyom is a trauma surgeon who made a radical decision 6 months ago. He stopped reading the news completely. I unsubscribed from all the news because I couldn't cope anymore. That made things much easier, he says. But he can't escape from the military recruitment ads at bus stops that promise 200,000 ruble or $2,500 salaries for contract soldiers, more than triple what most doctors earn. The sign-up payment is 3 million rubles or $37,600. With my salary, I'd need to work more than 4 years to earn that much. And military personnel get it simply for signing a contract, he says bitterly. Nikita studied journalism for 4 years. He now delivers packages for Yandex, navigating St. Petersburg's streets with other people's purchases instead of pursuing stories. Honestly, I just got tired of university studies. I didn't get much from them, he says. But there is more to the story. He grew sick of the propaganda that took over campus, from mandatory courses on information security that were actually about identifying fake news from Western sources, to professors who taught students to write patriotic features about local military families. And what would he do with a journalism degree now? All the media where you could work as a real journalist, they're either blocked, labeled as foreign agents, or their journalists have fled the country. What's left? Russia Today? Channel 1? I'd rather deliver packages, he says. It should be noted that St. Petersburg is the birthplace of Vladimir Putin, but now it seems that the residents of this city are also protesting against Putin.
The European Union's top official on Wednesday told Serbia's populist leader to get concrete about its proclaimed goal of joining the 27-nation bloc. According to Associated Press at a joint news briefing in Belgrade, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said Serbia should join Western sanctions against its traditional ally Russia over Ukraine. Von der Leyen also pressed President Aleksandar Vučić over democratic reforms as he faces accusations of a crackdown on protests against his increasingly authoritarian rule in the Balkan country. We live in a fractured world with a widening gap between democracies and autocracies, von der Leyen said. And you know very well where the European Union stands. Serbia remains the only country in Europe which has not imposed sanctions on Moscow. Though he formally says becoming an EU member is Serbia's strategic goal, Vučić has strengthened relations with Russia and China and stalled on reforms. The Serbian leader recently has faced mounting accusations of a repression against university students and other anti-government protesters whose months-long demonstrators have posed the biggest ever challenge to his rule. The protests erupted in response to a train station canopy collapse on November 1 last year that killed 16 people. Many in Serbia believe the disaster was the result of graft-fueled negligence in infrastructure deals with Chinese companies. Vučić has refused to schedule early parliamentary elections as demanded by the protesters. Dozens of people have been detained or have lost jobs for protesting, while Serbian riot police have been accused of excessive force against demonstrators. We stand for freedom instead of oppression, including the right to peaceful assembly, von der Leyen said. We stand for partnership instead of submission. We stand for diplomacy instead of aggression. Now is the moment for Serbia to get concrete about joining our union, she added, listing reforms in the rule of law, electoral framework and media freedom as key.
We live in a fractured world with a widening gap between democracies and autocracies. And you know very well where the European Union stands. We stand for freedom instead of oppression, including the right of peaceful assembly. We stand for partnership instead of submission. We stand for diplomacy instead of aggression. Now, almost 2 decades ago, Serbia made a choice to join our union. And it was not only a strategic choice, it was also a choice of the heart. It was the demand of the people of Serbia, and we look forward to Serbia to double down on its European Union path. Mr. President, now is the moment for Serbia to get concrete about joining our union. My first point is that we need to see progress on the rule of law, the electoral framework and media freedom. I know these reforms are not easy. They take patience and endurance. They must include all parts of society and the political spectrum. But they are worth the effort.